inspired to push through. Because there's a spark in you. Breakthrough or bust. Hello, hello. Welcome back to Breakthrough or Bust. And I am so excited for this topic today. We have Kristen Hartnagel here with Evolve Now with Kristen Hartnagel.
Hey, how are you?
Hi. Can you tell us a little bit about Evolve Now with Kristen Hartnagel?
Well, absolutely. It is a company that I am so excited to have just kicked off because I've been coaching people for over a decade and I've been speaking on topics that have everything to do with your spiritual growth and having some breakthrough experiences. And so finally, I just pulled it together to be able to serve in a more official way. So Evolve Now with Kristen Hartnagel is that official kickoff to that company.
So exciting. And then here you are helping on Breakthrough or Bust. So continuing the breakthroughs.
Happy to be here with you.
Yeah. So tell me, I know we talked a little bit about what you're going to talk about today, and I'm really excited for this because I think this is so impactful for so many people. Tell us a little bit about, what you want to talk about today, or maybe the challenge that you had experienced.
Well, it all started in about 2012 because life was really good. Things were going, as well as they possibly could be. In fact, I had this kind of a spiritual experience when I was on the beach in Mexico on spring break with my two sons and my husband. And it just felt like one of those pinch me, is this real kind of moments. Honestly, I describe it like this God experience washing over me. And as it turns out, it was that like a gift to be taking note of how good things were and really feeling loved and blessed, as if God were saying, hang on, honey, because shit's about to hit the fan. Because within 6 months' time, a lot of very devastating things happened. My dad fell and broke his neck. My sister was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. I mean, just 6 things, bam, 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 that happened. And within a short period of time, I did lose my mom, my dad, and my sister. So I'm the only one left in my nuclear family. Just lots of opportunities to help people through their own transition from this lifetime to whatever is next. And it just validated all of the spiritual tools that I'd been developing and working on throughout my entire life. Way to have an opportunity over and over again to put those to use.
Yeah, oh my goodness, I get chills when you talk about that. And I know that happens in my own family as well, where it seems like all at once, all of these people, and it can be way before their time, just so unexpected. Yeah. Can you talk to that a little?
I will, because, when my sister was diagnosed, it was as if our parents both said, oh, hell no, there's no way a child is going to go before us. And so they each died. And the biggest,
so they like raced her to it.
They were like, I'm going first. Yeah. And the biggest gift my sister gave me was staying alive long enough so that we could walk them home together. So we were at our mom's side when she crossed over, with our dad as he crossed over. And then I was with her as she crossed over. And I mean, part of me is thinking, man, if there is the ability to be a death kind of doula, I'm in, because I was a volunteer for hospice for 16 years. I really understand, or I love this end of life prep, the ability to just be there and hold the space for people to process what they're having to go through, and holding light and love and just allowing. And so that was such a beautiful experience. And they were not my first. My mom was engaged to somebody, and when he died holding my hand, I know it sounds really weird, but I thought, what an honor, what a
Mm.
gift. And so that was my very first taste, which led me to the 16 years volunteering and then being able to be with my three best people as they crossed over.
Wow. I feel like so many people get hung up here because they don't want to let go. You know, it's too hard to let these people leave our lives.
Absolutely. I think dying is so much harder on the living than it is on the dying. The people who
Mhm.
are making peace with what has occurred in their life and preparing for what might be next. I don't think everybody has an easy time of that, but I definitely think the people who have the hardest time are the ones who are in their wake, that have to figure out, how do I do this thing called life without them when they've been a part of it forever?
Yeah. And I think, not to go too far down the other road, but I think part of it too is as we sort of become more aware of, the energy around us and more aware of life outside of what we see, they really don't leave us.
Mm, you're
They
so right.
Yeah, they really kind of stay with us. They visit in dreams, especially, goodness, what is it that, like, between like 3 and 6 a.m.
Mm,
tends
you're
to be
so
them
right.
coming to
They
see
say
you.
that the
And
veil is the thinnest in those
yeah,
3 hours of the morning times. And
yeah.
I would say that I didn't really have a full opportunity to process life without mom, because then it was life without dad, and then it was life without all three of them. So I definitely still feel them, but I
Yeah.
call them like team mommy, daddy, Lauren. So instead of,
Yes.
if ever I'm thinking about one and how much I miss them, I honestly feel guilty that I'm not thinking about the other two. So I'm just like, forget that. I'm going to meld them all together, and mommy, daddy, Lauren, and I'm just talking to all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
And specifically my sister, she has her hands all over everything I'm doing. She's introducing me to people, she's putting people in my path, she's playing songs on the radio. Like, literally, I put my things down in the car and a song kicked on my car radio from my phone, and it was her singing, and the words that she was singing were so profound. I'm like, okay, you're here, I get it.
Yeah.
Experiences, if you don't allow them to cause fear within you,
Yeah.
you can invite them in. And I know that I have many, many interactions with her. Uh, when my mom died, my sister actually got pretty mad at her because we've all been spiritual our whole lives.
Mhm.
And she just expected that mom was going to be able to sit down on the bed in her spirit form and continue the conversation. And when that didn't happen, she was like so hurt. And she said,
Yes.
Kristen, I promise, if it's possible, I am going to come through for you, and we're going to write a book together. And I said, hey, you don't really know what's going to happen on the other side. There could be an agenda for you. Like, you might have places to go, things to do. And so I don't want you to feel bad if you can't follow through on that promise. And she said, if there's a way, I will do it. And she did. We have had facilitated by a friend of mine who actually kind of talks to angels. My
Mhm.
sister came through. She doesn't
Wow.
think of herself as a medium, but I had like a 90-minute conversation.
Wow.
Undoubtedly, my sister and then my mom came through for a little bit, and my dad came through. So you're right, still there. It's way different than just wanting validation that the essence of them continues. It's more
Mhm.
direct, direct
Yeah.
direct information that is really life-changing and so comforting.
And I think just being open to it. I think, like, how your sister had this picture of how it would happen. Like, I'm going to be the ghost whisperer and I'm going to see them. And that's not necessarily how it happens. I know that, one time I was with a friend and I was talking to her and a phrase came out of my mouth and I'm like feeling it come out of my mouth. I'm hearing it come out and I'm like, what is this? I've never said this phrase in my entire life. Why am I saying this? And as soon as it came out, she's like, oh, my grandmother used to say that to me all the time. And I'm like, well, she just did. So, just those little synchronicities, when somebody says something, or like you said, the song comes on the radio because there's this expression in this one group I was with. It was like, what are the chances of that? 100%. So
So
there
true.
are no coincidences, and just being open and aware of all those little synchronicities, I think, can be so comforting.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just think there's so much going on in realms unseen. And if I truly believe that the essence of what I am is really not this physical body, then it's easier to be more open that there's a way for that still to stay connected.
Yeah.
And so I'm not spending tons of time like trying to connect. I just
Yes.
know that it happens.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, it just feels like synchronicity when I really believe it's like divine orchestration. There are things being pulled together that are just going to make it easier for me to know where to put my foot next. It's like there's an infinite number of ways the future can unfold. I think all of the help on the other side is just to kind of light up a path that would serve the greatest and highest good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think of, like, we lost my cousin fairly young, and I think my aunt processed a lot of that, but my uncle didn't. He was being the strong one, and he passed about a year or so ago now. And it was started with lung cancer. The man's never smoked ever. But if you study like Chinese medicine and a lot of different things, these ancient medical things, the lungs are the organs associated with grief. And so, my theory would be it was some unprocessed grief that did take him. And so, when we don't process all of this, it's not like it doesn't stay with us. And I know for you, you were able to, my gosh, mom, dad, sister, and still be in a place of joy.
Yeah. Thank you for that validation. It's like, to me, joy transmutes all lower vibrations. In fact, one of the titles of my talks is The Alchemy of Joy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I truly believe that you have free will, and free will indicates your choice in all things. And if I can choose to focus my thoughts on what I'm grateful for, what is going well, what can I celebrate, that's going to keep me in those higher vibrations. But that is not to deny grief. That is not to deny those times when it just washes over you, that they are not a phone call away. Because to deny that is really a lack of expression. So I try to suggest to people who are not comfortable with the grieving process is to kind of be a witness to it. And this actually helps with everything that you're trying to process, is if you can just disassociate the fact that, like, you are not the thoughts you think, you are that which can have thoughts. So can you just look at your thoughts? And if you're experiencing, let's continue with grief, if you're really having something wash over you, then to say, this is okay for now. And I want to be experiencing exactly what this is for as long as it's needed, but I can't stay here. So I might have like 10 minutes to really go deep into it. Or I might say, like, this could last a day or a week of just face in pillow sobbing. But there's never been an emotion that you have experienced that lasted an eternity. So just to have the sheer faith that this too shall pass. The good isn't going to last before something knocks you to your knees again. The bad cannot keep you down before something good happens. So just to say, in fact, my sister, when she was going through this, we practiced this together, like memorize the good. How does this feel? Like just take it in and hold it.
I love that.
And then throw your hands up to God and say, I can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. More of this, please. And then if you're in the depths of the depth, is to also the same thing. Like, I know I can't stay here. Every contraction is going to be followed by an expansion. Every expansion is going to be followed by a contraction. So if I'm sitting here in this contraction, instead of like looking at all of the things that are evidence to this suckiness, instead saying, I can't wait to see what's next. Here. And there's a joy in that. There's a relief in, oh boy, it can't get any worse and it can't stay like this forever. So bring it. What's next?
Yeah. You know, it's funny. It reminds me when I lost my father, I remember somebody saying something to me like, oh, wow, I'm so sorry. You know, I lost my father however many years ago and I'm still not over it. And she's like, oh, sorry, that probably doesn't help. And I was like, honestly, it does. Because it just made me realize that I don't need to feel horrible all at once. It's almost like a tuner. Like you can tune it down and tune it back up again. And, you know, all right, I've had enough. I'm going to tune it back down. I can't do any more grieving. And then maybe I'm driving by myself one day and a song comes on, you know, some Neil Diamond, oh, Dad. And so, you know, you're able to allow it to come and go and do it as you feel, you know, you can do it.
Agreed. I also just like to help people reframe. Like, I don't want to get over it. I don't think I'll ever arrive to this destination where it's behind me. It's really a continual evolution of just kind of, what is this new relationship? And so I think grieving it can feel like it can sneak up and be a wave that kind of brings you to your knees. I remember when it was super fresh, just this inability to breathe. It was like I literally had to remind myself. Yeah. And the heart. It's just, it was such
Contracts.
And I remember feeling, oh shoot, I need to breathe. Oh yeah. But
I remember that thinking I was having an asthma attack. I was like, I don't have asthma. What's happening?
Right. Your bodily functions, like everything is focusing on just getting through. But that doesn't last forever. So that body kind of compression shifts and changes into something else. And now I really love to focus on the way each of them made me laugh. Like, how did they bring moments of joy to me? And my sister and I particularly, we would sing together. We wrote songs, we performed together, did concerts, have CDs together. And so, oh my gosh, there's nothing like sister harmony. And so whenever I have a chance, I'll play our backup tracks where her harmony is still there. So I can still sing with her. It's so
what a gift. Oh, I love that.
Very fun.
Yes. Well, you know, and just even still going back to that idea of they're still there with you. They're still looking at. And I mean, I just recently had a situation where, you know, my intuition kicked in so hard and it kept me safe, but it was like I could hear like instructions. And, you know, after the fact, when, you know, the hormones go back down and you're like, okay, everything's all right. I know that was my father. I know that was him. And like that night he showed up and how are you, you know, kind of thing. And visited my dream. And again, you could go and say, what a load of crap, that's whatever. It doesn't, but I'm all about the rose colored glasses. Why would I wear poo colored glasses when the rose colored glasses make me feel good? And if that's what feels good and that's what feels right and feels good in your heart and just that alignment in you, and it just makes you breathe better, why
Right.
would you not just have faith in that? There's so many things we place our faith in. Why not that?
Well, and I think we've come such a long way. I mean, even 10 years ago, people having near-death experiences, which just wasn't as accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine, 40, 50 years ago. But I think if you look, you'll find so much. Well, I would call it evidence, but it doesn't really matter. Nobody and nothing can deny my own personal experience. And so
Yeah.
the only reason I believe there are doubters out there is because they haven't had their own personal experience. And so I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but until you
No.
have that, you can deny it all day long. But what happens to you, and I know what happens to
Mm-hmm.
me, and it's just not anything that can be refuted, really.
Yeah, that or expecting it to look a certain way, like I was saying before. It sometimes it's a light. Sometimes I remember right after my father passed, all of a sudden the TV went like just started going up in the volume. I couldn't get it to stop and it went all the way to max volume. I'm like, what is going on? And then it came all the way back down. It's just
And there was not
okay.
a cat stepping on the
There
remote.
was no, I was the one trying to make it stop doing that. And it just did. So, there's like all these little things that, never happened again or,
Yeah.
that can't be explained. And you understand that, okay,
Yeah.
I'm open.
There's a great YouTube channel, Anthony Cheney, I believe it's Chene, and he has a fantastic series on near-death experiences. Um, it's so beautifully done because it's interview questions, but you never see him and you never hear his voice asking the questions. But all of these people are just talking about what happened in their own journey. And then even before I had my own experiences with Mommy Daddy Lauren, I'd been reading books like Dying to Be Me by Anita Morjani. She had her own near-death experiences. And then Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor's My Stroke of Insight, simply because I've been on such a spiritual quest for my entire life. Any of these books that kind of blend the science with consciousness. So Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor is a neurobiologist and really was studying the brain. And then when she had her own stroke, she had the medical language to talk about exactly what was shutting off when and what she needed to do to rebuild it and where the ego came into play. It's a fascinating book, but there's so many of them now. Quantum physics, just the study of consciousness and connection with the divine. Lots and lots of information to dig into to help people understand that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. How can we optimize our time here for the greatest and highest good of our soul's purpose? Like, why are we here? Not the reason we think we are. There's something else going on.
Yeah, I know. It's so fascinating. It's like at one time we intuitively knew all these things, and then we got to this point of, really just diminishing them, like, oh no, there's no evidence, that's not rational. But now actually we're starting to learn and see the science. At one point, things like energetic fields were, hooey, but now they can actually see them, with the new cameras and things that they have. Like, so the stuff that we did intuitively know was right. And so again, that's where that faith comes in.
And I'm all about the science of consciousness as much as I can be, just reading books and studying on my own. But there's two resources that really stood out to me as pivotal in my own ability to share from that scientific point of view. One is a video. It's not new by any means. It kind of came out after The Secret.
Mhm.
And it's a bunch of quantum physicists in an interview, but they kind of integrate a storyline. And the deaf actress Marley Matson plays the lead character in the storyline. And the video is called What the Bleep Do We Know? And it's
Mm.
really talking about the neural pathways and how we have receptor cells and how we can really train our brains to, let's just say, equate love with something that doesn't feel good because that's the way we were raised. And so healthy love isn't going to fit because we don't have the receptor cells for it. It really takes conscious effort and intentionality to reprogram your subconscious mind in order to have a healthier love in that example.
Yeah.
So that's a fascinating way to kind of see the physics of consciousness. And then
Wow.
the other resource that I love, who's getting a lot of attention lately, is Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
And so many books, so many videos, so many
Yeah.
courses. The one that I like to recommend to people is called Becoming Supernatural. And he's,
Actually, what I'm reading right now.
oh, are you really?
Yeah.
There. Yeah. And so it just
Love it.
talks about how we can impact our health and our cells, and which is a manifest material thing with something that isn't manifest, which is thoughts. So everything that is material starts with a thought, and how our thoughts can really impact what we create.
Yeah. Yeah. That I highly recommend that one. It definitely it's so fascinating to read the science behind some of, just some of the things that you experience and maybe you're not experiencing and to actually incorporate that into your life just to, make these quantum leaps like he talks about of, what is it, like curing health problems or, you know, attaining things that you never thought you could attain. And
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the hardest things for my sister to experience in her dying journey
Mhm.
was the fact that she was extremely spiritual. And so she had a lot of people who were saying, if you're so spiritual, why aren't you healing yourself? And it caused her to write this song. It really addresses our limiting beliefs about what
Mhm.
healing truly is. And her song
Yes.
is When My Healing Comes in the Form of Dying. It's like,
Mhm.
if there was a reason for my soul to be here, I wouldn't be leaving
Yeah.
if it were unfulfilled. And so, I might not like it. I may not want to go yet, but sometimes healing doesn't look the way we think it's going to look.
Yeah.
So, she did all the things, both medically and spiritually. I mean, she did the chemotherapy, she did the radiation, but she also prayed over the bag of chemotoxic chemicals and kissed it and brought her friends together through what she called her chemosabi to sing together and experience her chemo trials. Like she was in remission 3 different times. She was around for 7 years. And
Wow.
yeah.
Ah,
Um, and she would really say that because she never looked online as to what to expect in the journey. And she said, if you want to look, just don't tell me. I don't need to know anybody else's experience. And she went within and said, okay, how am I supposed to do this? And the messages that she got were have fun with it, do it differently. And she's like,
yes.
have fun with cancer. And she started to spell it with the word answer, but a small c. So it was like answer. And so cancer was her answer. She knew that there was a reason for it. And she had an amazing Facebook following through all the things she had to go through. She had to get a colostomy. She got to have the colostomy reversed. So many things that people were like, nobody talks about this. And you are just putting everything out there for us. And people are so grateful for that.
Mm, that is so powerful. I love it.
Mm-hmm. How do
I
you feel?
just think of all the comfort she's brought to so many people in doing that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just being vulnerable in the journey. And I almost wonder if maybe that is why.
I agree. And she wrote a book about the very first being diagnosed and going through it the first time. And it's called
Mhm.
Holy Shift, Everything's a Gift. We
Oh,
had,
I love it.
yeah, we'd been really deep. I'd been a student of the Course in Miracles for years, and I'd been talking to her about it's a retraining of your thinking and really focuses on your choice in perception. You're choosing the way you perceive things and how to surrender that to the Holy Spirit. It's just a retraining. And I've loved this for so long and kind of was bringing her along vicariously. And she was like resistant for a long time. And then she finally understood it is how I see it. I could see everything as a gift, as an opportunity. And that's really what my spiritual coaching is all about, is how do we look at what's happening in your life? And even if I can't see it now, believe and trust that there is something in it for me.
Yeah,
Can I?
everything is happening for me, not to me. That's what I
Yeah,
always say. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Is there any way that I can say, look, the way I'm seeing this must be limited, because I can never bring anything other than my Kristenness, right, to this
Mhm.
situation.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know it's not the whole truth. So I just want to be shown how to see it differently. And I'm
Mhm.
incapable of doing that myself. That's kind of where surrender comes in, is I know God, source, Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, does know all. In the realms unseen, there is no question, right? And
Mhm.
so I want to surrender my Kristen view and say, show me from a healed perspective how to see this differently, because there's a gift in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's pushing my buttons. It is pushing my buttons to show me that I have pushable buttons.
Yes.
Let's find out why I have pushable buttons and heal
Yes.
that, because then what I experience is going to shift.
Love it. So as you think about your experience and how you've processed it, what is it that maybe you wish you knew, or what do you wish others know as they process their grief and
Mm.
work through?
Um, I think the answer, the way I'll be answering this, is really what I wish people could know.
Okay.
And that is that love is really all there is.
Mm.
And there's a great beginning couple of phrases in A Course in Miracles, and it says, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Therein lies the peace of God. So if this body can be threatened, which in our perception it can be, because I could be killed,
Mhm.
then it can't be real. Nothing real. The essence of me cannot be threatened.
No.
So isn't that peaceful? And so that's a great way to think about death and dying, is that their body may not be here anymore, but who they are
Mhm.
is eternal.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. Like, kind of breathe on that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm.
Love is all there is. Absolutely. And so anytime
And it's the highest vibration.
it is, yeah. Anytime I feel like I am reacting to something that is less than what I want, less than a high vibration, it is an opportunity. It's a gift for me to say, what would I rather be feeling?
Mhm.
And is it as simple as a matter of just choosing a better feeling and focusing there and taking, like, there's two things happening. I am removing my focus and attention to what I don't want more of, and I'm purposefully shifting my attention to what I do want more of. But if that is persistent enough that it keeps on catching my attention, then there's some healing work. And the
Yes.
healing work is, why is this pushing my buttons? Why am I
Mhm.
reacting? And how
Mhm.
can I work on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, that inner child work.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of different techniques, right?
Yeah.
Reparenting and
Yeah.
fun things that can help us really have some breakthrough experiences to get to that level of healing where you're not repeating these familiar lessons, right? If you
Yes.
don't learn,
Especially if they're not serving.
yes, yeah. If you start to feel like you're having these repeating lessons, it's because the universe is going to give this lesson to you in clever and not so clever disguises
Yes, it
until
will.
it is healed, right? And so if it starts to go, man, that was a lot like this, only it was a different person and a different circumstance, then that's a really good, to me,
Yeah.
that's like a big nudge. There's something here we need to look at.
Yeah, it's time to work on this. It's like your
Yeah.
check engine light coming on.
Yes, yeah. I always say, don't wait till that little tap on the shoulder becomes a spiritual 2x4 upside the head, because
That's so fun. That's
it
a
will
friend of
be.
mine always says it starts off like a little tap, tap, tap,
Yeah.
tap, 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 and then poke, 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 and poke, poke, and then smack.
Bam!
Yeah. Yes.
Those are way more painful and way more
Yes. If you don't
challenging
pay
to get stuff.
attention at the tap taps, it's going to become a slap.
You got it.
Absolutely. I love it. Kristen, I have loved this discussion so much. And I think that it's really so helpful for so many people because, I mean, we all experience loss in one form or another. And, again, it's more of that, finding the love, the joy, background vocals that you can still sing with your sister and just however you still feel close to them and just choosing to find the joy in that. I think it's so powerful and it's such a shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, if we can incorporate a little bit and, still processing the grief as we need, but also still finding that joy, I think it'll be such a dynamic shift for so many.
And just
Yeah.
not wishing I were anywhere other than where I am, like honoring where I am, because I'm here
Yeah.
for a reason. And so
Oh, absolutely.
being with it, and then knowing that if I can be with it, then I can move through it. And
Yeah.
bypassing it's probably not going to work.
Yes. No, that
Mm.
definitely doesn't work.
Well, I love what you're doing, Kalua. I know that
Oh,
you're serving lots of people, touching a lot of lives, and I'm just so honored to have been a part of it today.
oh, thank you so much, Kristen. Yes, I'm so honored that you decided to join us and have this great conversation with us. And I'm just looking at the time. It's 4:44. So that's the angels. That's angel numbers right there letting us know that we're on track. So you can't even doubt us. We just got validation. So please check out Evolve Now with Kristen Hartnagel. And I will include in this, Kristen has a beautiful webinar and also some a link to get to her site where you can connect with her a little bit more. So I will include all of that for you. And if you're watching this and you're like, hey, I didn't see it, make sure you message me. Because,
Perfect. Yeah.
accidents happen. And that's why I'm saying that right now to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Good. I love it. And that webinar that I did it's called Breaking Through Belief Barriers. And I held it in May, but there's a recording. So if if you can connect with Kalua or look at the show notes, you'll see a link to that. And I hope to meet some of you someday.
Yes, that'll be wonderful. So thank you so much for being here. Remember, like, subscribe, share, and you know what? Keep pushing through because there is a spark in you. Thank you.
Love it. Thanks. Bye.